Peace, family. Happy Wu Wednesday. This is Uncle Reem, and this is Uncle Reem's Reactions. And today we're going to go into part two of my weekly series, Wu-Tang An American Saga, Separating Fact from Fiction, where we look at some of the things that occurred in the show, Wu-Tang American Saga, and we address some of the questions that a lot of us have by using research and looking at interviews and so forth. So, before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, in the show, Miss Linda Diggs, who is played by Erica Alexander, and who's doing a wonderful job, mind you, is a really, she's depicted as a really strong woman who loves her children. But, a question that I had about her character, like right away, was, man, she's real comfortable around the criminal element, even to the point where she's almost complicit in it. Not really saying that, this is what the RZA wanted us to see, but just looking at it from the vantage point of the story, she's very aware of RZA and his brother Divine's activities, but she typically, a mom would try to stop you from those activities. However, she's come to rely on, their street moves as a way to help provide for what's going on in their household. And that kind of stood out to me because in most households, I won't say most households, but in a lot of the households that I've been around growing up, and, we've had similar backgrounds to what's depicted on Wu-Tang An American Saga. Mothers are usually kind of like trying to stop that kind of activity. So that stood out to me. And one of the questions that I had was what type of, dealings did she have outside of her job? But and when you consider her job, she's working on the show. She's working at a restaurant, which is frequented and owned by mobsters. She's working for a guy named Fat Larry, who's played by Vincent Pastore from Sopranos. But Fat Larry, he pretty much hangs around a bunch of, mob guys who aren't too pleasant. And they're, situations that did occur between them that show that these guys are definitely some guys you don't want to mess with, or not to mention hang or work around. But anyway, in RZA's book, The Tao of the Wu, he actually stated, where his mother worked. And in The Tao of the Wu, his mother worked somewhere differently than what's depicted in the show. And, the question that one of the questions that I wanted to address in this series today is, did RZA's mother really work at a restaurant owned and frequented by mobsters? And according to the RZA's book, maybe he didn't state that she worked in a restaurant. He actually stated she worked at a numbers racket, which is really an illegal criminal operation. But this is where he stated that she worked at in his book. I don't know if she worked at the restaurant as well, or if she actually didn't work at a restaurant, and this is kind of the way that the RZA wanted to present her character, so that she doesn't, so that there's not a lot of emphasis put on the negative aspects. I did watch in Divine's interview how he said that a lot of the negativity that they were associated with, they kind of didn't show. They showed a taste of it, but they left a lot of it out because they wanted the show to be, to be presented in a positive direction, and they wanted people to learn from it and learn the morals and so forth. Because a lot of the other shows that are out right now, such as BMF, Raising Kanan, a lot of these have negative outcomes, and he didn't want to present too much of the dark aspects of what they were going through. So the way that their mother was depicted even though working at a mob restaurant, could be seen as questionable and not not stopping your sons from drug dealing, that also could be seen as questionable. It's understandable when you consider the poverty that they come from, how they come from the projects, and it was it was actually her son hustling that got them that house, and this is the only way he knew how to provide for his family and to maintain everything. So she accepted him as the man of the house, and she allowed him to be the big breadwinner, in whichever way he felt or he saw best. But you with a caveat though, because you can see that she does recognize the negativity of the situation, and she doesn't seem happy with it, but it seems like she's doing what she needs to do. What she's doing whatever they're doing whatever within their means to provide for their family and to keep things afloat. Now, but interesting to note is that in RZA's book, he states that she worked at a numbers racket, and a couple of occasions in the show, she actually goes and plays numbers. And in fact, in one of the run in with the mob guys that I won't elaborate on, but I will state that she did play a number and was expecting a potential payout from a number in that series. So maybe his mentioning that she played the numbers was his way of associating her with the numbers racket without without explicitly stating that that's what she did. So maybe she did work at a restaurant as well. He certainly didn't mention it in his book, but he did mention that she worked at a numbers racket. Was the numbers racket controlled by mob guys? The numbers racket was in Staten Island, New York, and Staten Island, New York is definitely frequented by mob guys. And in fact, majority is a huge Italian community. Not saying that all Italians are mob guys, but all mafia guys are definitely Italian. So it's highly plausible or possible that the numbers racket she worked for was ran by mob guys. Uh, what was her position there? He doesn't really elaborate on that either in his book, but he does state it. So not not I can't really say that her working in the restaurant owned by mob guys is embellishment or it's fiction. Um, Even though he doesn't state it in his book, he does, and he states somewhere different that she worked at. So it's potentially fiction, but maybe it isn't. Maybe he just omitted it and didn't add that that's something else that she did. Next question that I wanted to address is a question that many people have about RZA's siblings. How many siblings did he actually have? In the show, RZA has 3 siblings. He has a sister named Shuri, a brother named Randy, and his other brother named Divine. And that's essentially it. There's no mention of any other family members other than his uncle Hollis, his auntie. I forget her name, but she's married to his uncle Hollis down in North Carolina, as well as his aunt, his other aunt, the one that lives in Staten Island, who had a real bad situation to occur in season 1 that involved RZA's mom, and it brought potential threat on their family. But those are the only family members that well, you know what, they might have shown another cousin. Of course, Gary and Asan, or rather Jizza and Dirty, those are his cousins as well. But outside of like that, they don't show many of his other family members. So based on the show, he only has 3 siblings, and but and that kind of that stood out to me because I thought, if he only had 3 siblings, they in a nice house. He only had 3 siblings. I didn't know. if just going off the show, it would seem that it shouldn't be that difficult for them to find a way to, for them to find a way to make it, even legally, so. But in real life, according to the RZA's book, once again, that Thou of Wu, and according to numerous interviews that the RZA has had and that Divine has had, there were 15 of them. So he had 14 siblings. So 15 of them. Now, I wonder why they didn't just, show that he had 15 siblings. Then it would have made more sense to me that his mother was okay with what him and his brother was doing. Because, damn, you got 15 siblings. It's hard to raise that many siblings, even with a legal job and all type of legal stuff going on. That's just a lot of kids. That's a whole lot of responsibility. And from that vantage point, I would understand that desperation. So to me, it would have made more sense from a viewer's perspective to, to show that. Maybe not, because I'm sure that it would be difficult, though, to write a script and to include 15 people. And I guess that's what, in fact, Divine even stated that in his interview, that they didn't want to show 15 siblings because it was rough enough, dealing with the whole dynamic of 9 Wu members, and also, we can also address Ghostface, because in the show Ghostface has 2 siblings, his brothers, the ones who have muscular dystrophy. But in his song All That I Got Is You, he said there were 15 of them living in a 3-bedroom apartment. He said, what, roaches everywhere, cousin and aunts was there. 4 on the bed, 2 at the foot, 2 at the head. I didn't like to sleep with John, he peed the bed. So even like looking at Ghostface's situation, if they would have shown their full family dynamics, I think it would have articulated to the audience more of a sense of desperation that would have not justified, but would have made more understandable the drug dealing that they were doing, the other things that Ghostface was doing. It would have made it a little more understandable, the mindset and even the acceptance by RZA's mother of some of the activities that they were, the illegal activities they were involved in. Similar to like when you consider like a show like Willy Wonka, when the way they show Charlie's family and how all those people lived in that house, and how how they were pretty much starving, eating cabbage every day, and how much it meant for him to get that golden ticket, and you kind of felt for Charlie, and you wanted him to have that golden ticket as well, because they brought you in and made you empathize with his family dynamic. I think there was a way that they could have did that, but I think they did it the best way that they could with the show. But it's just that's just an interesting thing to consider, because again, me personally, one of my issues with the show was how easily his mother accepted the crimes that they were committing, and I just didn't see it. Just didn't, to me, it didn't do a good job of articulating that desperation that would have made her accept something like that. Thank you all for listening today. That's all we really have for today. We'll catch you next Wednesday, where we'll address some more questions. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace. We out.